Hey, STEM students, hope you're having a great day. Sorry again that I can't be with you in class today again. I wanted to introduce an assignment that I've been meaning to introduce, but we've been so busy with our coding and CAD stuff that I wanted to make sure you had enough time to get that stuff done. And so I'm just going to have a short video here introducing about a month-long project that we're going to be working on here and there. Most of this will be on your own time. If you would, navigate with me to Google Classroom as I'm showing you on my screen. And if you go to the classwork section here, you're going to see a new post that I put up sometime in the last few days here called Career and Education Research. So before I pull this up, one of the goals of our program, the STEM Academy, is for you to become more familiar with careers that are in the field. And there's a lot of ways that we do this. Unfortunately, we don't have a ton of time in this short quarter-long class for all the things that we're trying to do. And so I'd love to have guest speakers come in and do field trips and all that kind of stuff, but we just don't have enough time. And so one of the ways that I'm going to ask you to learn more about certain careers in the STEM fields is through this project. And so let me pull this up and I'll orient you a little bit. If you want to come here and just click on the very first document, and that's really the assignment. I'm going to pull that up on my end. We'll blow it up here a little bit. All right. Um, this is I wouldn't say a long-term project, but we're going to work on it for a few weeks here. I will just mention this will be due on Wednesday, October the 4th, and then the actual presentations you're going to give to each other will be that following Friday. I guess that would be the 6th. So in a nutshell, you're going to be doing research on one career in the STEM fields that you're interested in. And the research information is going to be in this document that I'll talk about in just a second. You're going to be gathering information about what the career is like, the outlook, the education needed, where you might go to school to be able to get the credentials you would need to be in this career, and that kind of stuff. You'll also be interviewing a professional, so I'll talk about that in just a second. You're going to be also creating a slideshow, and then on the that Friday that we give the presentations, instead of having you get up in front of the entire class to present, which can be a little intimidating, and honestly, it gets a little boring listening to everybody talk about stuff, we're going to do these informal presentations. So I'll set up an area for us, and we'll probably give each person will present one time to a small group of your peers that are in our class. And you'll get to pick, when you're not presenting, you'll get to pick other careers that other students in the class are presenting about to learn more about. So you'll probably get to go to 4 or 5 presentations total, and you'll only have to give your presentation one time to a small crowd. All right, so what do we have to do for this? First of all, the purpose, like I said, is if we look at the document here, the purpose of this is to just let you dig in to one career that you're interested in and learn what are the requirements educationally for that career. I know that might seem like it's far away, like going to college and all of that, but you really should be starting to think about that now. What am I interested in? What kind of requirements are necessary to get into the colleges that I'm looking at? And if I have a particular major I'm interested in, like what schools out there have good programs for those majors? These are all good things to just start thinking about before your junior year when you are busy and start to get stressed out about which colleges you're going to and stuff. Okay, so that's the purpose of this. There's 2 deliverables, I'm going to call them, 2 things that you're going to turn into me. One is going to be your research document. And so that is going to be where you basically go through and answer all the questions on this document based on the research that you come up with. Now, this document needs to be original work, and so we're not going to do any cutting and pasting in here. That's usually a no-no. So as you gather information, practice that skill of reading it, understanding it, analyzing it, and then summarizing it into a meaningful way and putting it on your research document. Please, as it says up here, create a new document. I don't know why my mouse isn't showing up here. Create a new document, okay, that is in your STEM Google folder, and then as you do your research, you can include this information. If you want to cut and paste this part of it, and just kind of fill in as you go. That's fine. So, the first thing is going to be actually selecting a career that you're interested in. And if you're not really sure, this is a great place to start. This is the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and this link is on that document, and it's also on Google Classroom here. Okay, the Occupational Outlook Handbook. So if you have some idea of like what fields you want, you can come down here and maybe find that. So I know a lot of you are probably interested in medicine. So where is that at? Somewhere in here we would find that industry. Well, I'm gonna pick one anyway. That's there it is, healthcare. Okay, sorry, I should have looked at that first. So if we click on healthcare, theoretically it's going to bring up a lot of information. It's going to bring up some occupations that are in there, so you're like, oh, I might want to be a dentist. And so this is going to give you so much information about different jobs, and it might help you narrow down what career that you want to research for this. And so do a little bit of, if you're not sure, if you're not like, I know I want to do this, maybe spend 10 or 15 minutes just browsing and seeing what's out there and what piques your interest. Now, this is a great place to start when you're doing research because it has some general information like work environment, what would you do, how do you get there, what's the pay like, and then it has a lot of sub tabs up here that go into a little bit more detail. So whatever career that you're researching, I would encourage you to start here and get a lot of information on this. All right. So, again, how do we get there? This is more detailed, like what education most people have and training. The pay, that's going to be good. It's going to let you know average. The wages, and then there may be some other information on some of the other jobs there too. Outlook is like what's the increase in jobs, like what's the projected employment rate. So, like, for example, if you pick a career, let's just randomly say manufacturing, okay, and you go like metals fabrication, and you look at the job outlook and it's like negative 15%, that means like over the next 10 years there's gonna be less jobs available. So that's something you might want to think about as you're not necessarily for picking for this this project, but just in general. It's always a good idea to know what are the projected outlooks for openings in this. If I spend a bunch of time in school and come out, am I going to get a job? This is like just general information about states, and so there's some maps in here, similar occupations. Okay, so again, great place to start to get a lot of this information knocked out. The name, primary roles. Also, whenever you're answering these, please be specific. So back to the dentist one, if it says describe the primary roles and duties, if you say cleaning teeth, okay, everybody knows that, right? What are some of the other things? Because remember, you're presenting this to your peers, and other peers might be interested in this career. So take the time to get in and go, okay, besides that, are they, taking x-rays, analyzing x-rays, coming up with treatment plans? You guys have gone to the dentist, so they do some of this stuff. Maybe using really cool new 3D printers to make crowns for people right in the office. Dig into that a little bit deeper than just the surfacey a lot of people already know. Again, tell me what interests you, and then an overview of the outlook of that. And then the second part here again is, what do you need to do? Okay, how do you need to get into it? So just a general overview would be good. And then I want you to take a little time. If you haven't done this before, this is really good. What are some colleges and universities, or maybe it's not universities, maybe it's just programs where you get a certificate. A lot of places you can get certificates and make a good living. So what what are some places you could go to get the degrees required in order to get on this career path? And then, just a little bit, why are you interested in those different colleges? Think about things like location. Do you want to be close to Fort Collins, or do you want to get as far away as you can? Do you want to be near the beach? Do you want to be near the mountains? Maybe both, maybe neither. Maybe you want to be in the cornfields of Iowa. Do you want to be at a really big campus like CSU or CU? Or are you interested in like a smaller campus that that's not so big? So these are all things to be considering, and I'd really encourage you to take the time to just look into some of these colleges and what they're like, because this might be a jumping off point for you looking into where you want to go in the future. We're kind of double dipping here, right? You're doing this project, but it has a function in the end. Like, you can use this information as you're planning ahead for the future. And again, I'll just remind you, it doesn't have to be colleges. Maybe you want to go to Front Range and get your certificate in welding or automotive. Man, those are great things too. So whatever it is you want to do, look, how do I get there, and what are some programs that are offered? Okay. Then also look at tuition, right? That's going to be a big factor. I know my daughter was really interested in going to Cornell because they have a really good program for natural resources. And then we looked at the yearly tuition and we're like, not an option. And so be thinking about that, and, considering how much you have saved up for college, if any, or and how much you want to get for loans and all that kind of stuff. So look at that. Again, that can help you as you're planning for your future. Now, I want you to narrow it down a little bit and then just pick two that you are the most interested in from those five, and dig into those a little bit more. Like, how do I get in? Okay, what are their admissions requirements? Do they require tests like ACT, SAT? Are there a certain GPA? If so, like, what's the cutoff for those? You might also look up what's the admission rate. So if 1,000 people apply to this college and they only let 10 in, then that's a good thing to know. Right? So look for those kinds of things. Also, what are the degree requirements? So if you're going to go into medicine, where do you start? What are the requirements to get that undergrad? What do you need for that? And then, are there any opportunities for internships or special projects like capstone projects? These are also good things to know. Lots of colleges offer extra opportunities for students, and you should be looking for those, because I'll tell you, internships give you a leg up when you're trying to find a job or go on to a master's program. Internships really set you apart, both in high school now, so consider getting an internship, or in college as well. All right, now this is the one that scares people. Don't be scared, all right? Some of you are going to like, oh, no big deal, but some of you are going to freak out a little bit. I want you to interview a professional. This cannot be your mom or dad or someone that you work with or are around all the time. I want you to develop 5 questions about the career. Find a professional that's in that profession, and then you're going to give them a call or set up a virtual meeting and ask them those questions. All right. As you ask those questions, maybe you want to record that, ask people if you can record them. Maybe you just want to jot the answers down, or maybe you'll remember those and you can write them down. Okay. Also, you need to include the contact information for that person, so that I know who you contacted. Now, again, this can be kind of scary because I'm asking you to ask some random person that you don't even know to answer questions to a high schooler about a job they're interested in. If I'm just letting you know, okay, 99% of professionals out there, let's say a veterinarian, okay, you're like, okay, I'm going to call my veterinarian and I'm going to ask him questions. I will tell you that 99% of professionals out there, if they got a phone call from a high school student and the student said, I'm interested in your job, not yours, but being a veterinarian, can I ask you some questions? 99% of them are going to be absolutely happy with answering your questions. 1% are going to be that grumpy person and are like, I don't have time for you. And that's okay. Just let that go, okay? Because there's 99 other people out there who would love to answer your questions. But don't let that scare you. How do we find these people? Okay, let's say I want to go into CAD design. How do I find that person? Start by looking up companies. Just start Googling companies on like Google Maps. And find a company that has these people, or talk to friends and neighbors. Do you know anybody that does this? Do you know any civil engineers? Do you know any manufacturers? Do you know anybody that works in biotech? So ask people that you know, and you might have some networking going on there, and find some professionals. Also, you can talk to me. I have a lot of connections in the different industries, and I'd be happy to guide you to somebody. But I would really like you to step out of your comfort zone a little bit and reach out to a random person. I know this part, I'll tell you, if you put the energy into doing this, it will be worth it. All right. A lot of students are nervous about doing this, and then after they do it, they're like, that was the best part of the whole project, just talking to this person, because we got into this really good conversation about colleges I could go to and what the work's like and all this stuff. And I even have had students just start calling other people to ask them what it's like. No, hearing from a professional what their career is like is one of the best ways to figure out if you think you're going to like that job. And so if you like that, and you have the time and you want to put the energy into it, I definitely encourage you to call a few people. It's worth it for sure. Okay. If you're worried about that, all right, let me know. But I want to tell you, if I lost you, if you're like zoning off or doing something right now on your computer, come back with me. Okay. You need to get on this right away. You need to find somebody by the end of next week and make contact, because I will not accept this late. And it might take you a few days to get a response from somebody if you shoot them an email or call them and leave a message and set that up, right? Hey, remember when you set it up too? Don't be like, hey, can I ask you questions right now? Be like, when would be a good time that I could talk to you and ask some questions? Have that communication skill and that interpersonal skill of honoring their time by asking them, is this a good time or should we talk later, and we can set up a time. So please use those skills. That's important professionalism whenever we're communicating, especially with somebody that we don't know like that. All right. So yeah, I think that's, I was lost my train of thought there. Get on this right away. All right. In fact, maybe even this week, start reaching out to some people. And then your goal should be, by the end of next week, you should have at least something set up, if not already taken care of. All right. So make sure you've made those contacts. So please make that. You don't have homework much in here. Please make that your homework. All right. You need to make those contacts. Okay. I'll stop talking about that. I think I've beat the dead horse. Let's see a little bit about this. I'm not going to be huge on the APA style, but as you collect information about this, please have a place on your document, right? The document that you're going to create, where you're putting down your resources, the links to the sites you're going on. So don't worry right now about APA stuff. If you want to practice that, that's great. We will be doing that in a couple of weeks when we do our biotech paper. So if you want to look into it now, you can. Okay. I'm not going to talk much about the presentation, but because I'll talk about that later, but you're going to also prepare a presentation. So if I was in your shoes, I would create two things right now: a document that is going to be your research information, and a blank Google presentation or a Canva, or, whatever you want to use for your presentation. I don't really care. PowerPoint, whatever. And so that way too, you can start throwing, whenever you're doing your research and you find a good picture that's relevant to stuff, you can put it on there, or maybe some graphs, you put it on there. So have those two up anytime you're doing the research, and you can start just putting things in there. Don't worry about formatting your slideshow right now. I'm going to do a mini lesson on that, so make sure that we create some really good slideshows. But that's a good place to start. Okay. All right. Lastly, what am I grading you on? This is a 50-point assignment, so it's a pretty big one. The detail that you give, right, that you put into the presentation is a big piece of it, and that should be included in your research document. And then a lot of that you're going to talk about whenever you give your presentation. The quality of your slideshow, which I'll talk more about in a later class, and then just your preparedness and the delivery of your presentation. So, can I tell that you're prepared, or are you just reading your slides to your audience? And we'll talk more about that as well. And then engagement with others. So are you attentive during other presentations where you're learning more about some of the other careers about that? Okay, I've talked longer than I wanted to. I always do that. What's wrong with me? All right. If you have any questions, I wanted to give this to you so you can just get started on it. Today is Tuesday. Today's Tuesday, and I know that some of you are probably still working on your CAD stuff. Today is a work day where you can either continue working on CAD, or if you're like, yeah, I've got a couple of things made in CAD and I'm ready to move on, and maybe you're ready to 3D print and you're waiting for me, and that's fine. We'll 3D print when I get back. But you could also start doing some research on this. You can get a lot of it done in a half an hour. It's really not super complicated. So dig into that. Let me know what questions questions you have when I get back. I hope that you're having a great day, and I look forward to seeing you when I get back. All right. All right. That's it for me. Have a great day. Go Ridge.